Welcome to the Columbus Regional Airport Authority snow training, snow removal, pre-trip inspection for our front-mounted plows. This is an Oshkosh P-Series 6x6 plow. The plows are wall saw. You can see them sitting over there to the left. The blue plows are for these, and if you saw the green ones over there, those are for the multi-function or MTEs. So that's how you can tell them apart a little bit. But we're just going to do a pre-trip inspection on this, and I hope you enjoy it. First thing, like always, is we got the master switch. It's located here on this one. Other P-Series trucks found at Rickenbacker may be up in the cab, so just kind of trying to locate it. But that's the first thing you probably should do, so that way you know you have power. So I'm just going to do a quick walk around first, looking for major leaks, anything out of the ordinary, checking kind of the tires, just a general pre-trip. We're not checking fluids yet. That will be a little later. First thing, I just want to look at the plow hitch here, looking at the hoses, looking at the connections, making sure they're all connected, nothing's kind of leaking or anything. Got the wiring. Good thing about a newer P-Series is everything is auto lube, so you're not going to find too many grease fittings that you have to lube. But if you're down at Rickenbacker International Airport, they have some of the older ones, and you're going to have to find those grease fittings. The PowerPoint that you'll probably view before this has where the majority of those are located and stuff. But we're just down here looking at the lift cylinder, the control left or right cylinder. So just trying to give an overall, making sure there's no leaks and stuff. So as we walk around, you want to look at the bolts, make sure we're not missing any bolts. You're kind of looking at the turn rod power, or turn cylinder, not cylinder, but turning rod springs. Looking at your tires, make sure you got some good tread on them. Looking at the lug nuts, that you're not missing any. Looking at, make sure we have inflation. Continue looking. We got lights, mirrors, windows, make sure everything kind of looks good. You got lights all over, marker lights. Looking up here, I'm sorry, we'll go down here. Diesel tank, make sure there's no fluid or anything leaking underneath there. We got the potassium acetate for the pre-wet. There's 4 tanks, 2 on this side, 2 on the other side. Make sure you don't see any leaks coming out of those. Moving down here, kind of looking at the frame, and making sure you're looking at the bolts, the springs, make sure they all look good. Tires again, got all the lug nuts, tread, inflation. We're also looking for the mud flaps, make sure those are on, if not missing. Looking at lights again. Come to the back side of this, we got the lights again. Maybe look at the spinners a little bit, make sure we have not damaged, this whole back end's not damaged or anything like that. Got lights. Just like I said, we're just looking for general leaks, bolts missing, lugs not missing, mud flaps missing, lights. So there is a tarp to cover it. Make sure that's kind of all rolled up there. We got 2 other tanks sitting right here. Looking, this is what controls the application of the product that's in here. So we're looking at the exhaust stack. There's one on the other side too, but these are the air tanks that provide air for the air brakes. Kind of give it a little pull, make sure there's no water coming out. If there is, just pull it until the water does come out. So once again, we got the front tires here, mud flaps, springs, turning rod is what I was thinking of before. Sorry about that. So same thing on this side, hoses are connected and stuff. As you see, the plow's not on it right now, but we put the plows on prior to the storm here at John Glenn Columbus International Airport, or CMH. Down at Rickenbacker, they store them that way. That's just different storage buildings, that's different spaces. So we'll show you a little later how to hook up a plow and what happens if you knock them over and how to pull them back up. So now I'm going to start checking the fluids. So once again, we're going to work front to back. First thing you need to remember, always 3 points of contact. Like I said in the other videos, always have 3 points. But first thing you probably should do is unlatch all these and open it up. If not, if you get up here and you open this up, you're going to be standing up here, and when you lift, you're going to potentially take a step back and potentially fall off. There's no guardrail here or anything like that, so be very careful. Safety is always on your mind. So kind of open it up a little, 3 points of contact, come up here. So I still got my 3 points of contact, lift it up. So it is a bar. Figure that out. Oh, anyway, so you're gonna have to hold this up a little bit, but you can see the engine oil and fill is right here. But what you're looking at here is just the engine overall. You're kind of looking to see if any belts are worn, anything's broken, anything's leaking. If you do want to check the engine oil, you can turn this right here. That comes off, and then you got the fill and the engine oil. And just like normal, you give it a little twist, and you pull it all the way out. You can pull it out like that, and check the dipstick like a normal one. So, and you put it back in. So, and you can do that from the ground level. It's probably the safer route to go. There we go. Right, to push it in a little bit. So just make sure everything's latched back up, shut tight. So there's the air filter. Here is the coolant. You can check that by looking at the sight glass. There is, if you look up underneath here, same thing as what we have for the oil. There is a little cap you can spin or turn off or open, and there fills right above it. Just remember, if it's under pressure or hot, it could be very, it could expand on you and cover you with coolant, and it's very hot. So everything else looks pretty good in here. So we'll shut this one up. We'll latch it back up. Like I said, just be very careful when you're up here and stuff. Ideally, you want to do this inside so there's no snow accumulating or ice or anything like that. 3 points of contact. Moving over here, we have the diesel exhaust fluid, DEF. All the newer pieces of equipment will have DEF nowadays. That is in the fleet shop. You just open it up, and there's a little pump you turn on, and you fill it up. So you might hear some alarms inside the cab. Look at your gauges; it'll tell you if you need DEF and stuff. So make sure that's filled before the snow event, just so you're not out there and have to come back. So we got our transmission fill is right here. You can use the sight glass. Since this is newer, you probably can rely on it. If you do have an older model, you may have to use the dipstick because the sight glass may not be accurate. So, but this is a pretty long one. I'm not going to pull it all the way out. You can see how long it is. There's the tip of it. So check it, wipe it off, put it back in, and then bring it back out just like a normal dipstick you would. Right in here, make sure that's tight. Right in here is our windshield fluid. That's for our wipers and stuff. The deluge fill is on the other side. One great thing about this piece of equipment, it has an auto lube just like our multi-functions do. So any grease fittings, you notice I haven't been talking too much about grease fittings. All the grease fittings automatically get lubed, besides the ones on the plow, since the plow is not attached. So we have a min. So once it gets down to there, we need to ask the mechanic, or if you know what to do, you can fill it up yourself. There is a max level too, so make sure you keep it in between there. The next one, you see the green cap. Green usually stands for diesel. It does around here, so this is the diesel fuel tank. I believe there's one on the other side, and they are cross-linked, so you just need to fill up one side. We do have this right here. This, when you do clean it out or empty the product out, you can hook up a cam lock hose to this, and you can flush out the system, or you can flush out the bed. So it's pretty nice to have when we're cleaning. So once again, kind of walking around, just kind of looking at things. Come to the back side here. Now this is not part of your pre-trip, but this is if you do need to fill these liquid tanks up here, this is how you would do it. It's a cam lock. Open it up. This comes out. You hook the hose up to it. You got valves up here. I'm not going to move them, but if they're perpendicular, they're closed. You can see the little ball joint or ball valve in there. If they're parallel with it or in line with the hose, that means it's open. So perpendicular, closed. Horizontal or parallel or in line, open. So when you do fill, you got to make sure this one's open and this one, because the tanks will fill. You can cross feed into the tanks on the other side, but you got to make sure those are open too. As you can see, when I was talking about the auto lube, here would have been a grease fitting that we would have had a grease, but you can see it's automatic, so it's great. Also, behind all this is the gate that opens and closes to let the material out or the product out. That little handle right here is how you adjust it. Please don't touch it. We have this set up for 2-inch open for the gates, because this system everything's calibrated off that 2-inch gate. And you can kind of see this is this whole pre-wet system. Ideally, when the product comes out, it gets pre-wetted so it gets activated, or if it's sand, it gets hit with some liquid chemical so that it bonds to the pavement a little bit better. You can see over here, like this one, you see this one is open right now. So technically this is letting product here. I can close it like this, so now it's closed. This one right here, it's a little confusing, but right now, if you want it open, that's open. This one will have to be open, and it can flow. Up there is how we would clean out the system. So we'd put clean water in through the system, run it through the pump, and basically so the product doesn't sit in the pump. 2 more tanks on this side, so basically 600 gallons of pre-wet system we have. This thing can hold about 6 tons of product, either solid chemical, which we use sodium formate, sodium acetate is the backup, and 600 gallons of potassium acetate. So you can see the transmission, the hydraulic fluid right there, a little sight glass. You do need to fill it, get an operator or a supervisor or a mechanic. We do have the deluge system, so when your mirrors and everything else gets caked, you can basically blast it. I went over the air tank, so once again we have this side. Once again, you want to open it up prior to climbing up. Open up before climbing up. So make sure it's good. Climb up, 3 points of contact. Open it up. Now there's not too much to check on this side. There is the air filter gauge. If it turns red, we need a new air filter, but our mechanics do a nice job of keeping things up to date and for us. So now you're just looking at the belts, the hoses, make sure everything looks good, intact, it's not missing. So everything does look good. So we'll shut this thing up. So I'll latch it on this side, and I'll get the other side once I get down. 3 points of contact. Always be safe. Please, please, please be safe. All right. Now we're in the interior cab. We just got done with our pre-trip inspection, so we're just going to go kind of across the top and what some of these controls do, so you know what to do when you're out there. So coming across the top here, this first gauge you really have to worry about. That's for programming different for the mechanics. This is traction control high, low. You got to kind of push that button in and go like that, but however, just kind of let it sit right there. This is your differential locks. When you're on dry pavement, you don't want any differential locks on. But this is the front, the middle, and then the rear of all yours. And these will light up too when the ones are selected or actually on. Windows, sorry, we haven't joined the 21st century yet. It is the hand crank. It's kind of funny. Wipers, just like that we had in the front mounted brooms, wipers for your side mirrors or your side windows are great. Ground radio to talk to air traffic control. Obviously, if you are not trained on that, please do not do that. So as we move across to back here, here's the gear shift. It looks very familiar to what you saw in the front mounted brooms. But then we got our gauges, our fuel gauge, our DEF diesel exhaust fuel gauge, our RPMs, our temperatures, our oil pressure, move speedometer, and we got our air brake. So when you're trying to build up air pressure, here's where you're going to focus at. As we move across here, if you want to turn on the lights, there's type kind of two. This is for just to have them on if you want everything light up. You got plow truck lights on, so there's everything else. Your beacon, your front, your side mirrors, that's defrost. This is for your front windshield defrost. Here's the deluge buttons. It will literally dump a whole bunch of fluid everywhere. If you do want your windshield wipers on the front, you got that, but then also you got washer fluid here too. So you can kind of do that. Here is your climate control right there. So if you want hot, defrost, a couple of different settings, you're just going to have to play with that just to try to figure out what you want. Here's your air brake. So obviously when you start it up, you're going to have to put your foot on the brake, push this in, and then select a gear to get it going. Also down here is our mirrors, how to adjust your mirrors. So you're going to take a quick look at that. So, and down here, this is for coordinated steer. If you remember what I talked about with the front mounted brooms, with the rear tires being able to turn, this is the same thing. Currently, if you're in all-wheel steer, it'll say coordinated, so your back tires will kind of turn opposite directions. And you can kind of, if you just want 2 of them or if all of them do it, you can control it all with here. I just highly recommend just keep it in all steer. Just remind you guys that when you do that, is your back end's going to, you know, kick out on you, and you're going to be able to turn in a tighter around corners and whatnot. So just be mindful of that. All right, so as we come up here, we're going to take a look at this. This is your rear camera, and as you can scroll through, we only have actually the back camera, and ideally you probably want it on this since it's bigger, but you can scroll through this and there's different settings like that. But obviously, since we don't have the other cameras, you know, the rear camera is kind of, you know, the back is what you want. So we'll just kind of hit the down button on that a couple of times until it brings up what we want, and we should be almost there right now. So that's what we kind of want there. All right, so the meats and potatoes of what this equipment can do. When you put material in the back of the in the bed, this is what controls it. So it's very simple once you get the hang of it. So it is a pre-wetting system. So you can see here, pre-wet is on now, or pre-wet is off. Oops, I'm sorry. You hit the bottom for off, top for on, and you kind of can see down here. It's off right now, so it's grayed out. Now it's on, okay? There are different settings for each ones, but we have our spinner adjustment. That's the blue knob. And if you look down here, also blue knob. They do the exact same thing, so you can control it up here or down there. But we usually want our spinner set at 70%. If the supervisor, or if you notice, or someone notices you're not getting the coverage you want, you can crank it up a little bit. Or if, let's say, you're going into like a closer to the terminal, or you want to kind of have a smaller area, you want to scroll down to 30-40%, but we like to keep it at about 70%. That's the blue button. The green button, as you see, it's on standby right now. You got to push it and it goes. So we have different settings here. 158 is 0.5 pounds per ton. That's just kind of, they have it in lane miles here, but you know, we kind of had to do something. So there is a chart, and I'll show you that right here. This is an older chart, but we'll get this updated, and you can kind of see what correlates. So 475, if we put this up to 475, we're doing 1.5 pounds per 1,000 square feet. So as you scroll down, you kind of can see it changes on you. So we want to start every snow event or every event at the lowest setting. If we're in ice, we'll maybe kick it up, but if you have any questions, ask the supervisor where you should be. So then the pre-wet, you go down here, you can dial, there's different settings on the pre-wet. Like I said, off and on, and the pre-wet is set at 10 gallons per ton, and that's the same thing too, is you can change that by pushing this button down here. You got to push it in. You know, once you push it in, it kind of starts to control it. Once you got to where it is, you just kind of push it again. But yeah, this button that you just saw controls that. Again, we want step 1 is 10 gallons per ton. That's where we start at. If we want more, we can always increase it. So it's pretty good. Moving your way down to this control right here. Here is the joystick for the plow. Yeah, as you can see, you pull it back, it will bring it up. Push it down, it'll go down, left, right. Pretty simple is that. The float is, you always want that on. If it's off, when you put it down, as you go over bumps or changes in elevation of the pavement, you're going to be digging in. So if it's floats, just think it kind of floats on your on top of the pavement there. We'll go over hitch disconnect and connect once we start putting the hitch or putting the plow on itself. Tarp close. One thing, when we load the plows, these new plows, we have a loading dock in the back of the compound, and you need to load it that way. If not, if you try to do it from the ground level, and the loader and the plow truck are on ground level, you're going to basically, when you tilt the bucket, you're going to hit the side and cause some damage. So I'm going to show you, if you want to zoom out there, this is the closed. You hit it closed, you have to see the tarp rolling across. Once you get chemical or material into here, and you close it, it protects it from the element getting wet and stuff. Our chemicals, and then we do it. Is it closing?
It's closed.
It's closed, okay. So anyway, and then spreader, these are for the spreader lights, so you kind of can read that. Welcome back. Now we're going to go into the operations and how to hook up a plow to this great piece of equipment. But one thing I did miss on the previous video is blast, push to blast. If you hit this button while it's on, it's going to blast for 10 seconds. It's one push. If you hold it down, it's just going to blast and put as much product as it can out the back. So, but anyway, so now we're going to hook up the plows here. You see them all lined up. We got the MTE plows to the left. They're green. We got the blue plows for blue plows for the blue, or blue plows for the plows. So we're going to start this up like normal. It's going to go through its some clicks, some processing, and once you see everything clear off here, we should be pretty much good to go to start this thing up. All right. So just like in the front mounted brooms, you're going to put your foot on the air brake, you're going to brake, you're going to push in the air brake, and then you're going to select drive. One thing here is before we move it, even though it doesn't have a plow on, we want to make sure the hitch is up. As we approach this, a couple things you want to be looking for is you want to make sure your hitch is as straight, perpendicular to you as possible. Those cast wheels are straight forward, but they're not on this one. Those have not been adjusted, but when you put it down, make sure the cast wheels are as straight as possible. So as we approach this, you're going to probably have to hang your head out the window. There's two little hooks or grooves that you're going to see on the hitch, and those are the ones that you want to line up with the hooks that are right in the middle of the plow. So as I go forward, you're going to have to maybe hang out a little bit and see it. You want to go all the way down, but maybe bring it back up just a little bit. And you just kind of inch your way forward until you get very, very close to it. Okay, so I'm going, if you have somebody who's able to spot for you, that's even better to do. And it makes it a lot easier. But you know, we're just going to see if I can get this. So right here is how you connect. Down is these two right here are to do the left and right connect, but you want to push them forward. And as you look, we got our markers. And as they pull forward, they're engaged. So now I should be able to lift this up. As I lift it up, it may come up forward a little bit. Oh. Almost lost that one. I'm not connected, so I'm going to disconnect. Bring the hitch down a little bit. You might have to just play with it just a little bit to get it inside there. Reconnect them up. Lift it up a little bit. All right, so this is how you're going to hook up the plow from this perspective. So you're coming in, the plow hitch is still up a little bit. You want to try to get as square as possible. Spotters always recommend it. Lower it down. Some points to focus on as you're trying to line that up, that hitch right there. Get it in. And sometimes you might have to adjust the plow just a little bit. See that? Just a little bit. The right side needs to come in just a little bit more. And then there you go, lift it up a little bit. You see how things are engaged. Right, stop that by you. Oh, you didn't quite get it. Adjusted the hitch a little bit. Just like that. Pull it up. Now we need to lock it in. When you're locking it in is when the thing, you see how the markers go in like that? That's where you know everything's locked in. So taking some finesse and practice, but you'll get it. Always try to have a spotter help you out. And then when you disengage, the markers will come out. Sometimes they do get stuck like that one right there, but then it is disengaged. Lower it. Make sure your caster wheels are going to be straight. These haven't been adjusted yet. Back out. Yeah, you're going to grind it a little bit, but that's okay. And off you go. So, thank you again. So, hopefully these videos are being helpful. Alright, so here's what happens when you're not lined up correctly, or you might have pushed it too far. We got the plow kind of bent over. At this point, we got to go and pull the plow back so it's upright. We have a strap right here that helps it out. So what you do, you're going to come through here and kind of, I'm sorry about the video quality here. It's not the best, but it is what it is. Come through here and you kind of make a loop so it's on, just like that. Come back over here. You're just going to connect this one through here, just like that. Just pull it down. So now you want to stand clear. If you want to hop back up in there, now you're just going to pull it back. Raise it up a little bit. You're just going to pull it just nice and gently. There you go. That's how you set it back up. Pretty easy. Stuff like that happens, but you know, this is the procedure how to pull it back. So